Hi everyone, I'm starting a series of videos which is dedicated to the topic of MCP security. Previously I have released a long video where I have shown how to set up MCP servers and how to connect to MCP servers either from MCP Client or from AWS Trends Agent or Google ADK Agent. I have also shown how to set up MCP infrastructure using MCP Proxy Server. Now we will deep dive into the world of MCP security, how to set up secure MCP servers, how to connect using authentication to those servers, and what different things in the security domain we can do using MCP framework. So please refer to my previous video to understand the basics of how to set up MCP servers, how to connect MCP servers to API endpoints, and how to set up MCP proxy servers, as well as how to configure your client and agents to talk to MCP servers. During our MCP security journey, we are going to cover the following topics. Here is the tentative list which I have in mind right now. It might be changed later along the way, but these are the basic topics I would like to talk about. So first of all, how can we set up MCP server protected with authentication using bear token? In this case, we will create MCP client and MCP server, and authentication will be done using the bear token. Next, we will have MCP client and MCP server, but we will extend authentication using the bear token using JavaScript Web Token instead, or JWT in short. Next, we will extend our setup by taking into consideration API endpoint, which sits behind the MCP server. So our full sequence will be connecting from MCP client to MCP server and from MCP server to API endpoint. And we will consider multiple scenarios of authentication, either using JWT obtained from the client by the MCP server in order to authenticate with API endpoint, or use different bear tokens between client and MCP server and between MCP server and the endpoint. Next, I will show how we can parse user credentials in the runtime from MCP client to MCP server and, if necessary, to the endpoint, and how we can use these credentials to modify our requests to API or even to the backend databases. Finally, we will discuss how to apply control policies at MCP server level. For example, if we need to filter some information which is not possible to do using API requests. So this is more extended and more precise role-based access control, or RBAC in short. So stay tuned and hope you will find a lot of interesting information in this short course. Thank you.